The SportsBeat KC franchise merges with the Kansas City Star's Facebook Live conglomerate to bring you today's episode. Actually, we're just doubling up on the duties on the sports podcast presented by the Star. I'm your host, Blair Kerkhoff, and it's Thursday, August 8th. Today was the final day of Chiefs training camp before the preseason opener on Saturday at Arrowhead Stadium, and Chiefs beat writer Brooke Pryor, columnist Sam Mellinger, and I sat down for a game planning session. We recorded it on Facebook Live, which happens at facebook.com/redzoneextra. And when we're finished talking about the game, stay tuned for a podium moment from Patrick Mahomes as he was asked about the possibility of throwing a pass behind his back.
And now we're back again. Sorry about the delay. Hopefully our internet will stay connected. And sorry, everybody. We just, a couple technical difficulties. But we are live from the campus of Missouri Western, where the Chiefs just wrapped up, I believe, practice 11 of camp. And they're, their sixth day in pads. We've got a real-ish football game happening tomorrow, or Saturday, so that's exciting. But a little bit of news to start off with. The Chiefs signed cornerback Mo Claiborne, a couple hours ago, 2 hours ago at this point. And Sam, you were in the middle of writing a column that the Chiefs should sign Mo Claiborne. So it seems like you think this was a good move.
I do. For one reason above all others, he is a human who plays cornerback. The Chiefs need a lot of humans who can play cornerback. He's had kind of an interesting career. He was a star. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, I'm pretty sure, out of LSU. Cowboys traded up a second-round pick and their first-round pick to draft him sixth overall, above Steph Gilmore, among others, Luke
Kuechly.
Kuechly, among others.
Kuechly,
yeah.
I like.
But his pro career just hasn't sort of taken yet.
He's been hindered by a couple injuries.
He has not played. He was drafted. This is his. He's played 7 pro seasons,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has not played 16 games in any of them. He will not play 16 games in 2019 either, because he is suspended for the first 4 games. So that's the bad part, right? But the good part is he's got experience. He still has a little bit of upside for a 29. I'm assuming he's about 29-year-old player. He competes. He has a reputation for he can be grabby. I don't know if he's like Orlando Hansdrick of last year.
Good one.
But
Is it?
He can be a little bit grabby, but he's
don't encourage that.
They need bodies.
Yeah,
They just need bodies.
Well, and they need more than just bodies. They need bodies that could actually contribute in a game, because they did sign some. I think it was Michael Hunter, a DB from Oklahoma State, and that's clearly just a preseason signee. But signing Mo Claiborne, he put together 2 pretty solid seasons in New York, had 3 interceptions, played in 30 games between the 2 seasons. So, almost all that he could have played in. And he had his first pick 6 last season. So it seems like he's trending in the right direction, minus the suspension to start the season. But I think that's the reason that they got him at somewhat of a discount. My understanding is the base for his salary is $2 million. It's a 1-year deal worth $2 million. Then minus the 4-game suspension, minus the money he would get for that, that's about $500,000. And then there's an additional $1.5 million in incentives. So that puts the total at right around $3 million in that neighborhood, which I think is about the money that you would want to spend to bring in a veteran corner, especially after losing Keith Reeser. Not that he was going to be the strongest guy in that group, but he was, I think, solid depth. And he goes down. It's clear that they already needed to make a move, and this just solidified the fact that they needed to do something.
He was the best available on the market. So, and it's a position of need, as you've said. But I go back to 2 years ago when this was a position of need then. You remember how many cornerbacks the Chiefs went through in that year, the Darrelle Revis year and Amerson, and it just seemed like they could never get that position right opposite Marcus Peters. Do they find themselves in that position this year? It seems like at least they start from a little stronger position than they did in 2017 when that just became a disaster position for them.
I agree with that. And the corners I don't think as a group are necessarily better now than a year ago. I think they are better than 2 years ago. But I think they have a chance to play better, if that makes sense. And I say that because I think that the safeties let down the corners so much last year. I mean, it was ridiculous. They made the corners look way worse than they actually were. And I think Bob Sutton had a hand in that as well. Those two things were changed. I know where Juan Thornhill is on the depth chart, but he's making a lot of plays, and I think he's going to play a lot. Tyrann Mathieu makes a huge difference in the secondary. So there's a better, if you can use this term, just a better platform for the corners to perform. So they're in a little bit, and that's why the Claiborne thing just seems so obvious to me. Because like you said, he's the best one on the market. And if you're the best one on the market, the Chiefs are a place to go because they need corners. It's a place where you're probably going to win. You might make some playoff money, if you make it that far, and you can make a real difference. It just made a lot of sense for both sides. But you mentioned the Reeser injury. They needed another corner before he got hurt. So if Claiborne is an upgrade, but just he's a replacement for Reeser on that depth chart, they still need another one.
Right, so especially after they moved Tremont Smith from that position to running back.
And I feel like at this time of year, there's two kinds of players that you can get. There's sort of the veteran, who's been there and been through wars and all that stuff, but has had some issues and is available at this time of year for whatever reason.
And could have some age on him and some miles, like Claiborne does.
Yes, exactly. And then the other profile is basically Charvarius Ward from last year. It's a young guy with some talent that you liked out of the draft, but you couldn't get him for whatever reason. He's in a position group with some depth and buried and all that stuff. And you can match up maybe with a trade partner. And the Chiefs can, trade from a position of strength, which would be defensive line and receiver are the two that stick out. And maybe they can get something done like that before, the deadline seems to be about 2 minutes before the fourth preseason game.
That's the cutoff.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, but there also could be other corners that come on the market that also face suspensions like Claiborne, another 2 to 4 game suspension, and they could end up, have another veteran guy fall in their lap. I think that's definitely a possibility too.
We had kind of an inkling of this, didn't we? Just that they were poised to make some kind of move.
Sam had enough to write a whole column before it happened. So
the column improved. So shout out Brett Beach. It was a good timing.
Yeah.
Did you just shoot him a text? Hey, by the way, I'm writing this. Could you just go ahead and sign it so that it's not completely wasted? And credit me for the idea.
Exactly.
But we saw it as a position of need versus, I mentioned the other day, I thought the trade was a possibility. And from maybe taking one of their wide receivers, where they are so deep, or even a defensive lineman where they've got some depth there as well. But they didn't do that. But that's how Ward got here. It's how Charvarius Ward got here last year was Patrick Enger, was that?
Enger.
Parker Enger.
Parker Enger,
yep.
Thank you. But the bottom line is he's here. He's going to be here tomorrow, or he won't play in the game on Saturday, but I imagine we'll see him at practice on Monday.
Exactly, and it gives him a chance to work in with this Chiefs defense in the second, third, and fourth preseason games before he's in on the bench. And then he's poised to come back for the Colts game Sunday Night Football. So that's going to be a pretty big one, a pretty significant game, and that's going to be fun to see him finally get out there. Another position that I think is interesting while we're talking about positions of need, let's look at the tight end position, because that's a group. We've got got a good roster right over here. Do you guys think the second and third tight end are on the roster right now as it stands, right? Because Travis Kelce, obviously, tight end number 1. Where do you two put, or who do you two put in the second and third spots, if they even keep 3 tight ends?
Well, I get a couple mixed signals with the tight ends. Yelder, the first depth chart came out Sunday night, and Deion Yelder, who's the only other tight end on the roster with experience with the Chiefs, was listed second. Blake Bell was third. But what our eyes are telling us in practice is Bell seems to be getting more of the second team reps, and we have the Dave Toub kiss of approval for special teams. So I think Blake Bell is going to be on this team. But I guess the question I have is, do the Chiefs keep as many as 3 tight ends? And how does John Lovett fit into the possibility here, the H-back that Andy Reid might be able to have some fun with, with fullback, tight end, doing all sorts of things with him. So I think that's a position to keep your eye on Saturday. Obviously, Travis Kelce will go out and play in the with the starters in the first quarter. But after that, I'll be interested to see what the rotation is and how they're going to be used in that game. As Andy told us today, the game with 4 quarterbacks on the roster, each quarterback's going to get a quarter, right? So Mahomes in the first quarter, Chad Henne in the second. Who comes out with Chad Henne in the second quarter? Is it Yelder? Is it Blake the Belldozer? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you go by depth chart, it would be Yelder and then the Belldozer, but I think the Belldozer's outplayed Yelder right now. And I think Yelder still has some practice team eligibility. So is there a possibility that it becomes Travis Kelce, Belldozer, and then you put both Lovett and Deion Yelder on the practice squad? Maybe. I don't know. I don't even know that you could keep Yelder around on the practice squad. I think another team with a tight end need would scoop him up.
It's funny watching the evolution, the progression of Andy Reid teams where the tight end at one time was so important to what they did. And it still obviously still is. Andy loves, but if he doesn't have exactly who he wants, could he keep an extra wide receiver? Could he keep Tremont Smith and use him, the speedy little guy, and use him in different ways? And I don't think you can pigeonhole Andy Reid into a style of offense or favorite position, because we've seen him use his running backs in different ways, tight ends. I have no doubt that Travis Kelce will lead the team in receptions this year. That's happened each of the years Kelce's been on the team. But I just maybe tight end 2 doesn't get 50 targets this year. Maybe it's just a whole different setup when it comes to the offense, and maybe they keep a Marcus Kemp and a Byron Pringle and a Gary Beater to go with the 4 wide receivers who we think are going to to be with the team, and maybe they find room for Tremont Smith. So I don't know. Andy Reid thinks offense all the time and all the time, and there will be a surprise member of that 53-man roster, somebody we didn't see, and it's because Andy Reid has some crazy idea about how to use them. I think.
A couple things. First, are we in on just it's never Blake Bell? It's always the Belldozer? Because I'm on board with that.
This is my thing with the Belldozer, and I love the nickname. Coming after covering OU, I'd heard that for a long time. But the Chiefs released one of their mic'd up videos, and it was of Eric Bieniemy, and Bieniemy walks up to him and says, "Hey Blake, I heard a rumor the other day, Belldozer, right? Belldozer." Like, he had just heard the nickname for the first time. It's been like 7 years since that started. It's been a minute.
I knew him by Belldozer before I knew his name.
I know.
Oh, it's Blake Bell. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's where it comes from. So I think we could all get on board with Belldozer. Maybe we should make sure that EB is also on board. But it seemed like that rocked his world a little bit.
The football coach as just sort of incredibly out of touch is such a tired cliche. Like when Bill Belichick talks about I can't get on InstaFace or whatever. They always do this. But sometimes it's really true. Sometimes they are really just don't know about stuff.
Yeah, especially in a situation like the mic'd up, they don't know what's going to be cut and put in that video. Yeah. So that was Eric Bieniemy in his true form.
That's great.
Not being aware of Belldozer.
That's great. The second point about the tight ends.
That was the most important one. I don't know what you could follow that up with.
It's just basically to underscore something you said about Lovett. That gives that some positional flexibility where if he can be your 3, he can also play in other places. And I'm thinking maybe this is a dumb idea because quality matters, not just quantity, but maybe you can keep an extra corner as well and just get guys.
Yeah, no, that's right. Brooke and I have we've tried to talk about 53, right? Projected 53. And I always look at it that you take the 3 special teams guys off the field. So you got 50 guys, right? It's usually 25 on offense and 25 on defense. But you got to look at where the needs are too. And cornerback is a need. And I don't know, we can talk about the tight end. I just don't see it as a position of need necessarily. As long as you got Travis Kelce and you got a second tight end who can do the things that this offense requires, and he's a Demetrius Harris special teams, Swiss Army knife sort of guy, that maybe you don't need to have 3 tight ends on this roster. You can have 2, and you can identify that position of need on the defensive side, which is the cornerback. and bolster that and have that rotation and give your new defensive coordinator and your new defensive staff more personnel to work with. So, which is a long way of saying I don't know which way they're going to go. I have no idea which way they're going to go.
Which is a long way of saying stay tuned till September.
And which also makes the we talk about how this offense, it's kind of on automatic pilot. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's a solid group of running backs, wide receivers, Travis Kelce. We know what to expect from them. In fact, I'd be surprised if they don't march down the field the first time they have the ball and stick in the end zone Saturday night. But the defense is just going to be fascinating to watch. That's that to me is how coordinated is this defense? How in step are they? I don't expect much really from the first game from a new defensive staff and up to 5 or 6 new starters on defense. I think Cincinnati's first team offense could go down the field and score pretty easily too. I just think that's the side of the ball that will continue to need help. It's been addressed in the offseason. It'll continue to need help as the season progresses. They did something today. They added to that defense, and it'll continue to be a work in progress to the point where you think by early, maybe to mid-season, it's where it should be. And who knows what the Chiefs' record will be by then. But I think by early to mid-season, it'll be running the way you'd hope to run. Anybody who expects it to be running, seamlessly from the get-go, I think is mistaken.
Yeah, well, I mean, even Tyrann Mathieu said it could take 4 games for us to get this all figured out. And I don't think he was counting the preseason games. I think that's starting like week 1 against the Jaguars. That's kind of when the clock starts of, all right, when will you get this figured out? Sam, who are you looking most forward to watching on the defensive side of the ball in a real game? Well, yeah. Real-ish game.
Right, real-ish. I think that's important.
For one quarter.
I mean, I can answer it a few different ways. Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu are just head and shoulders above everybody. I mean, those are just critical guys at critical positions. I don't know. It seems like Frank Clark doesn't know more than one way to play. You know what I mean? So it's
to hard. Frank Clark, it's a real game.
Yes, it's hard to see him like going into preseason mode or whatever. So if he plays like this mean SOB that we've seen,
R.I.P. Andy Dalton.
Yeah, that could be really interesting. And also like because I'm thinking about it, in these preseason games, you don't scheme really at all. There's no game planning.
No,
right.
But that means that somebody like Frank Clark, who is that talented and strong and plays that hard, could shine a little bit more. It means that someone like Tyrann Mathieu, again, there's different levels of effort that different guys are going to give, but he's an instinctual player. Like he's kind of a natural, like playmaking guy that could come through. And I'd be interested in those guys anyway. Here's the part that is probably, something that maybe is more important the week before the Jacksonville game. But I'm interested in Anthony Hitchens and when and if when Reggie Ragland gets out there, they got exposed really badly last year, and I think that was mostly scheme, that they were asked to think, they were on their heels too much. It was just it didn't fit, especially with Hitchens, the strengths, and so I don't know that that'll shine through on Saturday in a preseason game when nobody's game planning. But
right.
That is something that I'm interested in, going forward. And another thing to me, I think that cornerback group that we've talked a lot about can swing pretty drastically based on the play of Charvarius Ward. And I think Charvarius is a really good player. And even in the Seattle game, I was impressed with the positions that he was in. Sometimes he just got beat by a Hall of Fame quarterback. But if he is – I think I know he's worked really hard this offseason, and I think that one of the things that maybe was holding him back is just a simple confidence. I mean, he's got a different background than a lot of guys. And I think that if he feels 100% in his heart that he belongs on that field, like he's an NFL cornerback that can cover NFL receivers, I think he could take another jump. And I say that knowing, we all know, right? Like the performance of young corners is really volatile year to year. So you never know. But I'm somewhat optimistic about his play. Yeah,
but it's also keep in mind that one of the reasons you get a Frank Clark is to help cornerbacks.
Yes, that's a good point.
And and one of the defense, we've seen a lot of sub packages and practices over the last couple of weeks, and one of the more interesting ones had 4 defensive ends playing, in front to, ostensibly get to the quarterback in a big way, in a fast way. And nothing better for a cornerback than that. Now, having said that, did the Chiefs lead or second the NFL in sacks last year?
Yeah,
They were pretty close, yeah.
And that didn't seem to help the position.
No, it did not.
But I don't know. So it's you still have to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And with signing Morris Claiborne, they took a step, I think, in that direction.
I think so. I think one guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing on Saturday is Juan Thornhill on the defensive side, because we've seen him out here. He's intercepted Mahomes. He's been just a step or two behind Tyreek Hill, which honestly, being that close when Hill makes a catch, being able to tackle him right afterward, that's a win in my book for a rookie. And as Steve Spagnuolo said yesterday, I mean, if he can keep up with 15, then that bodes well for how he'll stack up against the rest of the league.
Yeah.
But we've talked when we're talking first-year players, rookies, and free agents. I think he's been the best here.
Mm-hmm.
McCole Hardman's improved from the start, but I think Juan Thornhill has been the best. And Gil Brandt was here today, the super scout who was just inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he was asking a lot of questions about Thornhill and really impressed with him, and was impressed with him as a prospect, and thought the Chiefs made a great draft pick to get Thornhill. So that's another one of those when you talk about position battles. Right now in the depth chart, Sorensen is starting at that position. You absolutely have to make rookies earn their starting spot. I think that'll happen.
Well, and he was taking reps with the first team today, and that in just a 2-safety set. He has been the third safety when they've done a 3-safety set, and he's been the free safety back there. But today, there were times when Sorensen wasn't on the field and Thornhill was on the field beside Matthew. So I think that's, I mean, like you said, Spagnuolo said he doesn't like to start rookies, but it wouldn't shock me to see him.
I've seen Tyreek Hill run past every defensive back here except for him. When Thornhill ends up on Tyreek Hill, you basically have to overthrow Tyreek Hill, and hopefully he runs under it, because Thornhill has that kind of speed. And we saw that play, was it Sunday or Saturday?
When he chased down McCole?
McCole, that was as impressive. That's my image of training camp, is that play, is how Thornhill ran down McCole Hardman, who had made a great move to elude a tackler and looked like he was going down the sideline for a score, and Thornhill had a little bit of an angle but caught him, and he's that impressive.
Yeah, I think so. Let's look at the offensive side of the ball. Sam, who are you excited to see offensively on Saturday?
The quarterback.
Yeah, that guy.
just put it out there.
Yeah,
so we can go ahead and pencil you down. Sam will write a column on the quarterback. Look for that in your paper on Sunday.
Let it be known, though, I looked this up. So Mahomes started preseason game 1 last year, obviously, as the starting quarterback. They went punt on those 2 possessions in the preseason opener.
Remember, was that Atlanta?
No, it was here.
It was here against
the Texans. The next week in Atlanta was the one where he threw the ball 90 yards.
And we were all like, "Oh, this is this seems like there might be something here."
We were sitting in the end zone press box, and for a moment, I thought the ball was coming into the press box. He threw that.
I mean, he takes a different angle. It might have.
Those poor Atlanta defensive backs just giving up on the play. And there's Tyreek Hill 80 yards down the field. But no, in that first game against Houston last year, they went. I think they picked up a first down on each of those possessions, but went punt, and all of a sudden, I'm thinking, we got a little quarterback controversy.
Chad Henne, step right up. Yeah. Position is yours for the taking.
And then in that Atlanta game too, was that when their first possession, maybe in that game, Sammy Watkins did something in the end zone. I can't remember if he dropped a pass or ran out.
Mahomes threw an interception that was intended for Watkins, right?
I think in the Atlanta game.
Yeah, we got problems. This offense is not going to be that good, guys.
It's going to be terrible. And yet.
They rebound.
Well, Mahomes, his passer rating in the preseason, and you figure how many possessions did he end up with, maybe 5, 6, whatever it was 103.5. In the regular season, it was 113 point whatever.
It's a bit of an
team
improvement.
Record.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that says about what the Chiefs were trying to do in the preseason last year. Andy Reid says they always keep it basic, and that's true of every team, I think. But I guess that proves that basic doesn't work for Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Do you think we'll see a behind-the-back throw? He said today it has to be late in the game and they're up by a lot. But can that change if it's first quarter preseason game?
That would
Maybe.
be a look. That would be a look from the coach. I liked when somebody. I want to give the credit for the question, but now I can't remember who asked it. But they asked Pat, like, in the preseason, do you try more stuff?
Oh yeah.
And he was like, I try a lot of stuff anyway. Let's be
Regular season,
Perfect
preseason.
answer.
He's good at the stuff trying.
Right.
He's really good at that. But he'll be fun for sure. It was 2 years ago. We were at Cincinnati for a preseason game, and he had that incredible scramble, and it was just he's had his moments in the preseason.
That throw down the sidelines that we talked
Yes,
about.
yeah, down the sideline.
To the tight end who's not here anymore.
Right,
It was
There's so
such
many.
a good throw.
Oh,
God.
Yeah, and
He'll do some stuff.
he'll do some
He
stuff.
will.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
try some stuff and he'll do some stuff. I'm excited to see McCole Hardman out there because we've seen him in flashes throughout this training camp, like we were just talking about. He's gotten a lot better. He's he has fewer drops. He looks like he's running the routes better, has a better connection with Mahomes. But I think it's going to be so important to see him go against another defense and see how he actually stacks up, because he is a smaller receiver. He is still very unpolished, very rough around the edges. But I'm excited to see him in the offense, but even more so on special teams, because I think that they want him to kind of take over those punt return duties from Tyreek Hill, lessen the chance that Tyreek Hill gets hurt, make McCole Hardman the primary punt returner. But you can't do that if you can't catch the ball.
Right, and he's been better at that as training camp has progressed. So special teams is important. You talk about the games are kind of scripted in terms of who plays, but it's not so much on special teams. I mean, the same kickers, and I think that if you really want to look for something in Saturday night's game, look at who the gunners are on the coverage teams. Who are the outside speed guys. And if they are sort of borderline candidates for the team, that means those are guys that Dave Tobe likes. The kick returner, the guy taking kick returns today for the first on the first team was Tremont Smith, who was terrific at that last year. So, we wonder about his position, whether he's going to make the team or not. He is back there with the starting kick return. Did they want McCole Hardman to be that person at some point? Maybe. I don't know. So Blake Bell is the one that we mentioned him. We talked about him. Dave Tobe loves him. So that's why I think I lean toward him being on the 53. But, yeah, it's important to kind of keep your eye on special teams and see who's making plays and see who, Tobe is putting his arm around when he comes to the sideline because he had the key block, that sort of thing. And,
right.
And then when you're trying to project your 53 after that fourth preseason game, you got to take that into consideration.
Well, and Robert here mentions, wouldn't Tremont Smith be the primary kick returner, punt returner? There's no reason for him to be on the roster if not. I think that's a good point. They don't need him to be a running back. I think if he's going to make this team, he has to carve out a role on special teams and one that's indispensable. And right now, I think he is the primary kick returner, but should he also take over punt return duties to really justify his spot, or is being a kick returner enough?
I would have him do both, at least until you feel comfortable with Hardman, but not necessarily to justify the spot, but just sort of, I don't know what the right term is, but he's not the primary. He would not be the primary punt returner. He would be the primary punt returner until the playoffs when Tyreek Hill is the primary punt returner.
Right.
Like, because he is way more valuable than you want to put him back there in danger of somebody just taking a free shot at it. But in the playoffs you can use him, and I think it's sort of a placeholder. And Tremont Smith, with his athleticism and quickness and speed, is a hell of a placeholder. He can do some damage himself, and then you let your real guy do it in the postseason.
And they're set at running back with Carlos Hyde, both Williams, and Darwin Thompson. Darwin Thompson is Tremont Smith, only Darwin Thompson's the drafted version of that, the one they have more investment, drafted more recently than Tremont Smith. So we'll see. And then he's another player. You always try to pick up some clues from what coaches say at the podium. And every time Eric Bieniemy's asked about Darwin Thompson, he just loves that little guy.
Again, really, what do we call him?
He's
rocked up.
Rocked up.
He's the rocked up guy.
Yeah, bodybuilder. That's
right. So I think he's a guy that's going to be given every chance to make this team, and it may be at the expense ultimately of Tremont Smith.
Right. No, I agree completely. And Brian brings up a good point. Where did it go? He's brought up quite a few, and it's pushed it down. Byron Pringle is a pretty good punt returner. While we're looking at guys that could be fringe roster makers, do we think Byron Pringle ends up making this team?
Well, he is a return. He is a return guy, and that helps his case a lot. And gosh, we've mentioned this before. He's a favorite of the coaches, not just for his talent, but just his perseverance to. He got a bad break last year. He was on his way. Was he on his way to making the team, or he was on his way to staying with the Chiefs?
Yeah. Right.
When he suffered the injury that kept him out. I think there's a respect level that the Chiefs have for that. So, and he's a local favorite too. Not that matters. Not that really enters into the conversation, but it's a good story for us and for people in Kansas City area if he makes the team. But he's in that group, right? We talk about the four: Hill, Watkins, D-Rob, Demarcus Robinson, and McCole Hardman, the four wide receivers that are locks. And then you've got that group of Marcus Kemp and Byron Pringle and Gary Dieter. I would put Cody Thompson in that group as well, and they're going to keep two of those guys. Right. I think Dieter has practice squad time remaining.
I think so. And you have to wonder how much of a disadvantage is he at, because he hasn't practiced at all since the first day. He's had back spasms.
Exactly. So that puts him behind in the competition. So I don't know which way they're going to go. I just don't know. They've got money invested in Cody Thompson, gave him a nice deal. And Marcus Kemp has played really well in camp.
It's been hard to ignore him the last couple of days. Not that we're purposely trying to ignore any one player, but he's a guy that isn't high up on your priority of players to watch on the field. But, I mean, I think every day for the last 5 practices maybe, he's made some kind of one-handed grab, contested catch, a catch like a juggling catch, looked like a Madden glitch. Like, he's doing things that, when you think of Marcus Kemp, you think of him primarily as a special teams guy. And it's like, oh, yeah, he is pretty good on offense, too.
And, yes, special teams, you were going to say that. He's the guy who downs punts. He's Dustin Colquitt's big friend, because he's the guy that gets down there when Colquitt punts inside the 20 and it doesn't go out of bounds. It's usually because Marcus Kemp gets down there to down it. So take that into consideration as well.
I don't know if I've been jaded by receiver groups with the Chiefs in years past.
You could very well have been, but honestly.
Marcus Kemp can play in this league. He can be a receiver that gets targets for a lot of teams. It's just a statement to, the kind of depth that they have at that position. And that's not to go back to it, but that's part of why it makes sense to make a trade. Because if it takes DeMarcus Robinson to do something and you've got Marcus Kemp who you believe in, it just, it softens that blow.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going on the who will make the roster questions. Cole wants to know if Carlos Hyde will make the roster.
Oh yeah, I think so. He's been splitting the first team reps with Darrell Williams and Damian Williams' absence. I think so. I think so. But then I thought C.J. Spiller was going to make the roster.
Right.
Remember? And didn't. And Spiller was looking fantastic up here. So
Carlos Hyde hasn't necessarily looked fantastic up here. He's looked serviceable. He's not a dynamic back in the way that there have been up here recently, but
he does something that Andy Reid loves, and he's got good hands, and he led the 49ers in receiving one year, and that's just something that has great appeal to Andy Reid. If you can catch the ball out of the backfield, then Andy will give you a shot.
Brian asked, what about Jamal Custis? He doesn't see Andy cutting him. Well, I don't see Custis making this roster. He has not done anything exciting. I mean, maybe practice squad because you've already invested $100,000 in this guy, but he's not looked like a receiver, undrafted free agent worthy of that kind of money.
I agree with that.
Hasn't flashed like that's just my favorite word up here, by the way.
Flashed, yes. That feels like a theme this year.
Like Cody Thompson has.
Yes, Cody Thompson has flashed. One thing that I thought was interesting today, while we're kind of talking about special teams and ways different guys can make the roster, we talked to Dustin Colquitt, and I thought it was interesting what he said about how for everybody else the preseason game is essentially practice. For the specialists, you're not doing anything less or doing anything different just because it's the preseason. The way you kick, the way you punt, the way you hold, that doesn't change, and they play all 4 quarters. Blair, what did you think about what Dustin Colquitt said about that?
Well, I think it's neat because he also said you're either right or you're wrong.
Right.
There's no learning curve with special teams. They don't break down the film. I'm sure they break down film for you, but it just seems like it's different in the special teams room. You either made the play or you didn't make the play, and your employment in the NFL is based on the answer to that question: did you make the play or not? So that's why I said don't ignore the special teams play in these preseason games. A lot of decisions will be and have been made on the ability of players who, especially young players, to perform on special teams. Mm-hmm. It's funny. We kind of not ridiculed, but kind of made fun of Demetrius Harris over the years, and and he did have a 53% completion rate when it should be like at 70. He dropped the ball a lot as well. But he was a great special teams player, and Dave Toub spent the first 2 minutes of his one press availability here talking about how important Demetrius Harris was to the Chiefs. And
nobody laughed because
it was Dave Toub.
Not a joke.
No, and Dave Toub was like, you listen to Dave. So that's important for someone like Blake Bell. If who's taken Demetrius Harris's spots on the special teams, you've got to. That's important, and pay attention to it on Saturday.
Well, also there's another punter here, which is I think pretty interesting. I think Colquitt's spot is secure, but Jack Fox is here. I wonder if he could be a special or a practice squad candidate. Would they try to keep a punter around? I don't know.
He had a good line when he was asked seriously. Well, how do you help the guy? Because every position says, I'm helping everybody, right? And Dustin just said, nope. He was he said, I'm half kidding, but I get where he's coming from.
Right?
I know exactly where he's coming from.
Totally.
You don't want to help the guy take your job.
Right.
They're not going to keep two punters on the active roster.
No. But I do think that's why he's here. But I don't think it's been a great camp for Fox. He hasn't kicked his way into the hearts and minds of fans here. Dustin Colquitt is still the guy. He's still the one who booms kicks and strategically places kicks. He's going to be a 15-year veteran this year. Mm-hmm. I don't think I don't see a scenario where Fox makes the team and Colquitt doesn't. Unlike how many years ago was it they brought Cairo Santos in to replace was it Suckup? I forgot what the competition was there. But
I mean it's weird because in some ways I think Colquitt is terrific with length and with accuracy. But in some ways, having a 3 or 3.5 or whatever he is $1 million punter on this team is weird.
It is.
With this
right,
it's a little bit like the 08 or 09 Royals or whatever when they had Joaquin Soria, like this great closer in the back end. So you don't really need that guy.
But he did say he saved 40 of the 57 wins.
That's right. But I guess my point is in a different scenario, maybe that would matter. Mm-hmm. But I do think that this matters. Dustin Colquitt is not a good guy in that locker room. He is an amazing guy in that locker room.
He is the guy.
And that matters. Mm-hmm. And they're not they're not in the situation that they have been in years past where they need every single dime of cap space.
Right.
They've got, they did, Claiborne, if somebody else comes available and it requires $3-4 million, they can do that. Mm-hmm. They don't need to cut Colquitt for that. I also want to was I just slow on noticing this? Colquitt wore the hat with the
he did last year.
And we've seen it earlier in camp as well. How cool is that?
I love that idea.
Last year it was the bucket hat, and I that was the first thing I noticed. I thought that was really cool.
He came to the lectern podium, whatever, with a white Chiefs hat, autographed in a bunch of kids handwriting, and it was Kylie, anyway, the full names, and it was just a really cool thing. He's over there and he says, if somebody wants a picture, that's cool, but you got to sign my hat. To kind of flip the thing
kids
around
are signing autographs for Dustin Colquitt.
Bring them into the experience.
I thought it was really neat.
A genius idea.
I liked what he said about that's how you make a Chiefs fan for life. It's hey, remember that time that Dustin Colquitt asked me to sign his hat?
Yeah, totally.
And
it's 100%
future
true.
front office personnel, man. Dustin Colquitt.
100%.
He better be.
Whatever he wants to do in football after this.
Yep.
If he just wants to just do interviews every day, that would also be fine with me. I'll take it.
Yeah, he's great.
And someone also asked, by the way, how many quarterbacks does this team keep? Let's just change gears a little bit. That was a little bit of a jolting transition.
They've kept as many as They've never kept 4, have they? They've kept 3. They've kept 2. I don't see any reason to keep more than 2. I just don't.
And one practice squad guy.
Yeah, and a practice squad guy.
Which guy are you keeping on the practice squad?
Something we learned today, which is interesting. They're going to break up the game by quarters, right? Each quarterback gets a quarter. Shermer's getting the third quarter, and Chase Litton the.
Yeah, what does that say? Does that say that Shermer's pulled ahead of Litton?
I guess.
Does it say that Andy Reid's just good friends with Pat Shermer?
It could say that as well.
Pat Shermer's going to be free to watch the third quarter, and he has something to do during the fourth quarter.
I don't know what that says.
I think Chase, from the third team reps that I've taken careful notes and paid attention to, seems like Chase Litton looks better than Kyle Shermer out there.
I think so too. Yeah.
I don't.
It's not a good sign for Chase Litton.
At least he got the Gucci bathrobe from Travis Kelce last year.
Yeah. But we're also like when you talk about the backups, it just reminds me of the Bill Polian line. Have you heard this? When he was the GM with the Colts, and somebody's like, Peyton Manning takes every practice snap, like every single one. Like you don't give any to the backup. Like what's if he goes down, you need that guy to be ready. And Polian looked at him and said, "Son, if 18 goes down, we're effed, and we don't practice being effed." So there's some of that.
That's fair. That makes sense.
That's great.
Well, let's see. Anything else you guys want to cover to preview? Blair, you were writing 5 questions that will be answered. Are there any more questions that we haven't answered on your list?
The one we covered most of them actually in our conversation, but the one I want to know is, and we actually touched on it a little bit, is the enthusiasm. The crowds up here have been unbelievable. Best I've ever seen.
Yeah, by far.
Will that translate into turnstile count on Saturday night? They had 58,000 announced for their preseason opener last year. Will we, is it a matter of, are people here just to get autographs? Are they here for the convenience of the, of the access to the players, which you wouldn't get at Arrowhead? Or will the fans respond in a way? Look, we're a team. This is a team we think can be in the Super Bowl. Let's watch them every opportunity we can. And these preseason games, especially the third one, but for this one as well, because you're going to see Mahomes playing both of them at Arrowhead. You can get cheap tickets. You can get tickets for less than $20 on the secondary markets for this. So go do it, because once the regular season starts, I think that's going to be more difficult.
It is going to be expensive. I've already looked for some family members coming into town. You guys are going to have to go to a bar and watch it because you're not going to go to Arrowhead for that game.
The crowds have been incredible. The one thing, the autograph thing, there was 6,500, they said yesterday, which would have been a record crowd for that venue here in St. Joe, if not for 5 other crowds this year that had broken that. And that was, nobody can think of any reason other than Patrick Mahomes being scheduled for autographs that happened. There was a torrential downpour.
Right. And there was the threat of rain, and they still came.
Right.
The threat of rain, they drove through that to get here.
And then today, beautiful day. And there was less than half of that. So
linebackers are scheduled Anthony Hitchens and Reggie Ragland, not a poll apparently.
Right, but it also increased your chances of getting Mahomes' autograph if you'd come today.
Yeah. If you finished my column the other day.
That's right, I read that. I read that.
If you read Sam's columns, you'll get Patrick Mahomes autographs, is what we're saying.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ooh.
Well, I think on that note, we should probably wrap things up. We've got to file the rest of our stories. Sam on why signing Mo Claiborne was the right idea. Blair on his 5 questions.
To watch, and do an intro and outro for the Sports BKC podcast.
There you go. This will be on there.
It will be. This will be the podcast.
This is a pretty extended version. Usually those podcasts are only 30 minutes?
Between 30, yeah. 30, 35.
Wow, how about that? Bonus content.
Absolutely.
There you
go. Quality stuff.
Obviously. We will be back Saturday after the game. It's a night kickoff, right?
It is.
So stay up after the preseason game. We'll be back from Arrowhead then. So until after the preseason game, I'm Brooke Pryor. That's Sam Mellinger. And that's Blair Kerkhoff. And that is it from us from St. Joe.
We've seen the behind the back as you're warming up. Is that a possibility that and there'd be a scenario in the game where you potentially could use that?
We'd have to be winning by a lot and have to be late in the game. So I'm going to probably try to not do that one until we're winning by a lot maybe and I'm messing around. But it's something that I'd rather not try in the game.